Hi everyone, Lisa here from Cool Kids Hub. Today I wanted to talk about what does a sleep schedule look like for a 6-month-old, as well as what are some of the common sleep problems with babies at this age, and what are some of the tips that you can do to help your little one develop healthy sleep habits. Now that 6-month mark for me is such a beautiful age because it's really when your little one starts to become more and more interactive. You're hearing those giggles, lots of smiling, lots of babbling, lots of eye contact. They're also starting to physically develop, so they're maybe not so happy anymore to just lie under a play gym or tug on their own toes. So toys at this age that help develop, fine and gross motor skills are great. Your little one is probably teething, and if they aren't yet, they will very soon be. So, that those teeth are starting to come through. Your little one may, by this age, be on solids, or you've already introduced solids to them. If you haven't, then this is normally the age that your paediatrician will start talking to you about introducing solids to your little one's diet. Now, how much sleep does a 6-month-old need? Because they are physically developing, and so is their sleep. But at this age, they still typically need between 12 and 16 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. They will generally nap for have 2 to 3 naps, and those naps can be anything from 1 to 2 hours. You may find that your little one is starting to resist that last nap of the day, but don't take this as a sign that they're ready to drop a nap yet, because generally babies will drop a nap, that third nap, around about the 8-month mark. So try not to just give in to that resistance, because babies do have a little bit of resistance to that last nap at this stage. So it's important to keep an eye on those awake windows. Generally, a baby can take, at this age, an awake window of between 2 to 3 hours. So, you might just need to adjust your awake windows or move about, be flexible with your bedtime to still get that third nap in for the day. So what are some of the tips to help your little one develop healthy sleep habits? Now, at this age, you might find their sleep is a little bit all over the place. And this is often because of all those developmental milestones they're going through. They've either learned to roll over, or they are learning to roll over, they're sitting up. And so this often kind of interferes with their sleep. They're teething, all of these kind of things. So what can you do to try and, help them with sleep? So first of all, tip number 1 is to make sure you're creating that ideal sleeping environment for your little one, making sure the room is darkened as darkened as possible, that it's cool but not too cold, it's quiet. Again, during the day, you're not going to make sure that it's like dead silence in the whole household, because if you've got other children, that's never going to be possible. But you're trying to keep noise to a minimum, right? Tip number 2 is, like I said, don't drop that third nap too soon, because this can often result in crankiness and tiredness, and then your little one actually wakes up more in the night because they're actually overtired. So try to persevere with that third nap, at least for another month or so. Like I said, adjust your bedtime if you have to, push it out a little bit, or, bring your bedtimes forward, adjust your wake windows, whatever you need to do to still make sure that your little one is getting in those 3 naps. And the last tip really is to make sure your baby stays really active when they're awake. Make sure they're getting lots of opportunity to practice those all-important skills that they're learning, so whether that be the sitting up and, the tummy time, so they can learn to, practice their rolling over. Really just keeping them active and giving them the opportunity to practice those skills when they're awake. Now, what does a sleep schedule look like for a 6-month-old? Now, remember, a sleep schedule is a guide, because some babies, like I said, will take a 1-hour nap, some will take a 2-hour nap. Most of them are still napping for 3 times, but some babies can only handle 2 hours of awake time, and then they're tired and they need to go to sleep, whereas other babies can actually handle 3 hours of awake time. Now, in the description of this video, I will put a link to a sleep schedule you can download for a 6-month-old that will give you some ideas of what a sleep schedule should look like. But remember to be flexible, because no two babies are the same, and also your own family requirements and things that are going on in your house is somewhat going to determine that too. But the important thing is to make sure that you are keeping an eye on those awake windows and those tired signs, and not letting your little one get overtired and therefore cranky. Now, another question at the 6-month mark parents start to ask is, can I sleep train my little one? Now, for me, sleep training is not necessarily about training. It's more about developing healthy sleep habits for your little one. At the 6-month mark, your little one should definitely is able, developmentally old enough to self-soothe, to be able to put themselves back to sleep. And developmentally, they can actually go through the night without a feed. Now, at this age, some babies are still waking up for 1 to 2 feeds a night, and a lot of babies some babies, if they haven't already dropped that feed, will drop it generally around before their 9-month mark. But if your baby's waking up more than 1 or 2 times in the night for feeding, they're probably doing it more out of comfort than they are from hunger, because they haven't learned yet how to get themselves to sleep and how to put themselves back to sleep when they wake up. So if you are having this challenge where your little one is waking up multiple times in the night, it might be time to consider sleep training them. And really, this is about helping them develop those healthy sleep habits. Now, there are 5 different sleep training methods, and they go from very, very gentle, basically little to no crying, right the way through up to the cry it out method. And I think that the challenge sometimes is when parents hear sleep training, they just think of this cry it out and I can never do that. That is not the only way that you can help your little one to develop healthy sleep habits. I will put a link again in the description to this video, to a video that I did on 5 sleep training methods, as well as an article that I wrote on that. But choose the method that is right for you and your little one, because the key is, no matter which method you choose, you just need to be consistent with that method. So you want to choose a method that you feel comfortable with and that is right for your baby. Now, what are some of the sleep problems that a 6-month-old might experience? Like I said, at this stage, they are going through a lot of developmental growths. So this can cause restlessness to their sleep. So the first problem is that teething. Babies start to get their teeth around the 5-month to 6-month mark. And so this can cause them some pain at night and can cause them to wake. If your little one is really struggling and you suspect they're struggling with teething, because you're seeing those signs of teething, the chin's got a rash, there's a lot of drool, and you think your little one is struggling to sleep because of that, then just chat to your pediatrician around what you can give them as some kind of pain relief. Teething rings really are a great help as well, but teething can, for some babies, cause them to be very restless at night. Now, one of the other challenges that parents face at this age is often early morning wakings, where your little one wants to wake up at 5 a.m. and is ready to start their day. This is not uncommon, because it's part of your baby or anybody's natural sleep. Your hormone that produces, that kind of induces sleep, is highest in the evenings, and as the night goes on, it becomes less and less and less. So by the morning, your baby is naturally going to be more awake and feel that natural pull to wake up. Now, if you're not prepared to start your day at 5 a.m., yes, this might be one time you want to feed them and put them back down to kind of get them to sleep till 7 or 7:30, but it is not uncommon. You can make sure that you kind of, again, making sure the room is as dark as possible to block out that light and try and extend their awake times. But a baby waking anywhere between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. is not uncommon. Now, the other thing that sometimes happens is that your baby wakes up a lot at night because of rolling over. They sometimes know how to roll one way and can't get back, and so they maybe don't like sleeping on their tummy yet, so they get frustrated and they can't roll back, or the rolling over wakes them up, and because they haven't learned to self-soothe, they can't get themselves back to sleep. So the two things here are making sure that you're giving them the opportunity in the day to practice those skills, that rolling over, and you're helping them with those skills. But the other thing is, like I said, if they're waking multiple times because they can't get back to sleep on their own once they flip themselves, then it might be time for you to consider sleep training so that they can learn to self-soothe that. Or yes, the flipping over might wake them up, but they know how to get themselves back to sleep and they're not crying or calling out for you. Now, if you, the other thing you want to make sure you do is fill them up with those calories in the day, making sure they're getting sufficient feeds, introducing solids if you haven't already done that, making sure when you give them the last feed of the day that they are actually taking a full feed on board. And if they wake, in the night and you're now wanting to think about dropping that final feed, then you can start to offer other forms of comfort when you go to them. That might be some gentle shushing or patting, but try then not to feed them. If you're still happy to feed them once, but you find they're waking up 3-4 times, don't feed them every time they wake up because they don't need the food. They're literally waking for comfort. Then start to just, like I said, you might pat them or shush them to sleep as opposed to giving them a feed to go back to sleep. And this will start to just stop that habit, because a lot of times, like I said, it becomes a habit and they don't know how to get back to sleep and they're just waking because of that. So if you try other self-soothing methods, eventually they won't be waking for food, but they need to learn how to go back to sleep on their own, which is why sleep training then can help that. Now, a lot of parents will also say, oh my goodness, my baby's going through a 6-month sleep regression. Now, there is so much talk out there about sleep regressions that as a parent, you can think there's literally a sleep regression every month. But the only true sleep regression is at the 4-month mark, because at the 4-month mark, and you would have already been through this if you're now at the 6-month mark, at the 4-month mark, your baby's sleep does actually physically change. So it is an actual physical change to your baby's sleep, because their sleep goes from being that of a baby to that more of an adult. Their number of stages within their sleep cycle changes, and that is the only true sleep regression. However, it doesn't mean that there will not be disturbances to your little one's sleep, and typically in that first year, parents will find a lot of disturbance to their child's, to their baby's sleep, and therefore they'll say, oh, my baby's going through a sleep regression. Yes, there are going to be disturbances, and very often those disturbances are linked to developmental periods. So they are linked to when they're learning to roll over, or they're teething, or they're learning to sit up, or they've just started to pull themselves up, and they pull themselves up, and sometimes some babies can't get down again on their own. So those types of things is often what causes those sleeplessness, or dropping a nap, all these kinds of changes. So when these things happen, don't just necessarily think it's a sleep regression. Like I said, the only true sleep regression, which is really more of a progression because it has to happen, is at the 4-month mark. And these other disturbances to sleep are often linked to these developmental milestones that your little one is going through. And that is it for the 6-month sleep schedule. Like I said, I'll put a link to a sleep schedule as well as a link to, different sleep training methods, and a link to how you can drop that final feed if you at that stage where you feel your little one is ready to drop a final feed and might be just waking because they're out of the habit more than out of hunger. I'll also put a link to that video and article in the description to this video. That's it for today. Bye for now.